The vast expanse of space shimmered around the neutral planet Virelius, home to the Galactic Council's orbital diplomatic station. The station floated like a silent sentinel in orbit, massive and gleaming with polished alloy and energy shields. It was the place where the most powerful civilizations of the galaxy met to make decisions that shaped the fate of billions. Inside the Grand Assembly Chamber, the atmosphere was heavy. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in a circular hall, each at their designated station, watching the center platform with stern, unblinking eyes. A human figure stood in the middle, tall, calm, but clearly tense. Envoy Marcus Hale of Earth wore a dark diplomatic uniform, trimmed in blue and gold. He had come to defend Earth against charges of violating Council security protocols. The accusations were sudden and unexplained. The evidence was not shown publicly. Earth had not been given time to prepare. High Chancellor Threx presided over the chamber. His tall, grey-skinned form stood like a monument of authority. His eyes were narrow, his voice deep and slow. He raised a hand, silencing the murmurs across the room. "Envoy Marcus Hale," Threx said, "you stand accused of espionage against the Galactic Council. Do you deny planting surveillance devices within the Council's core archives?" Marcus stepped forward. "Yes, I deny it. I came here to serve peace, not to spy. Earth has no reason to betray the Council it worked so hard to join." There was silence, then a low mechanical hum as Threx activated a small display. A grainy image appeared, a dark shape entering a restricted vault. The figure wore a standard diplomatic suit. No clear face was visible. Threx stared down at Marcus. "This image, taken 2 days ago, shows you entering the vault. No permission, no explanation." "That's not me," Marcus replied calmly. "That image proves nothing. It's a frame job." But Threx showed no change of expression. "Enough. We have debated. The ruling has been made." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Even some of the alien delegates looked surprised. Normally, trials took weeks, even months, but this one had ended before it began. Threx raised his hand again. "By authority of the Galactic Council, you are found guilty. Sentence execution." "No," Marcus shouted, stepping back. "You can't do this without proof." But it was too late. Energy fields snapped around him. A small hovering unit entered the chamber. In seconds, a white-hot pulse fired through Marcus's chest. His body collapsed, limp and silent. The energy field disappeared. A cold silence fell over the chamber. No one moved. The only sound was the quiet hiss of the execution drone retreating. Far away on Earth, Commander Jackson Morrow stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, watching the broadcast on the main screen. The Council had made it public. They wanted the whole galaxy to see. Jackson's jaw tightened. He had known Marcus for years. They had trained together, served on joint missions, worked through every stage of Earth's membership in the Council. Marcus had been cautious, diplomatic, and deeply committed to peace. "This was planned," Jackson said quietly. His voice was steady, but a storm brewed behind his eyes. They wanted an excuse. Around him, generals and analysts sat frozen in disbelief. One of them finally spoke. "Sir, the President has authorized activation of Protocol 0. Jackson turned. "The Annihilation Protocol." The officer nodded grimly. "Immediate control is being transferred to you." A secure case was brought into the room. Inside was a single tablet, locked by multiple encryption layers. Jackson placed his hand on the surface, and the screen came to life. Earth's most dangerous defense system, an AI-controlled fleet capable of erasing planets, was now his to command. But Jackson didn't look at the screen. He stared up at the broadcast, still paused on the image of Marcus lying dead on the Council floor. He knew this wasn't just about one envoy. It was a message, a threat, a challenge. "Prepare the fleet," Jackson said quietly. "But no orders until I say." He walked out of the command center, silent and focused. The decision ahead would decide the fate of Earth, and possibly the galaxy. The night over Earth's capital city was quiet, but the war rooms beneath the surface were not. Deep inside the Earth Defense Command complex, the highest-ranking leaders of the planet gathered behind thick security doors. Holograms floated in the air above the war table, images of Council fleets, ship movements, satellite scans, and one blinking red marker labeled Virelius Station. Commander Jackson Morrow stood at the head of the room, eyes locked on the red marker. His uniform was plain, black with silver edges, but the room bowed to his authority. Since the execution of Envoy Marcus Hale, Jackson had been given emergency powers. Every order now came from him. Around him, political leaders, generals, and scientists all spoke at once. "We have to strike first. Show them Earth won't be pushed around." The Annihilation Protocol was made for this. It's now or never. We need time. Retaliation without proof could destroy our alliances. Jackson raised a hand. The room fell silent. "We will not strike blindly," he said. "Not yet." General Oren, a hardened veteran with grey eyes and a voice like gravel, leaned forward. "Sir, with respect, that was an execution without trial. The galaxy saw it. If we don't act now, we look weak." "I know what they did," Jackson said. "But war can't be our first answer. Not while questions remain." He tapped the hologram controls. A new image appeared. Council security logs, encrypted files, locked away from public access. Jackson had already sent Earth's best cyber team to crack them. Something about this doesn't add up. The image they used to convict Marcus wasn't clear. The timeline doesn't match his movements, and the trial was over before it began. A woman stepped forward. Dr. Leon Kaur, head of Earth's Diplomatic Intelligence Unit, nodded in agreement. "We've started analyzing the security footage from Virelius. Early signs suggest tampering, frame rates don't line up. Someone altered the evidence. Then we're being baited," Jackson said. "They wanted an excuse. Marcus was the excuse." Another screen lit up. It showed a list of known Council surveillance drones, followed by a diagram of the diplomatic station's blind zones. "There's more," Dr. Kaur added. "Marcus sent a message just before his arrest. It was incomplete, garbled, but one phrase came through clearly: 'They're framing us.'" The room was silent for a moment. Then Jackson turned to his command staff. "I want every piece of data the Council has tried to bury. Pull our diplomatic archives. Cross-check with what little we know from inside the Council." He turned to General Oren. "Send the fleet to high alert. Keep them cloaked. No movements until I say so. The Annihilation Protocol remains locked until further notice." "Understood," the general replied, though his face showed frustration. Hours passed. The command center never slept. Jackson reviewed files one after another. Council meeting logs, public broadcasts, communications with neutral planets. Patterns started to emerge. One thing became clear. High Chancellor Threx had been pushing for increased control over Earth for over a year. He had warned other species that humanity was growing too quickly, too independently. There were even signs he had tried to block Earth's most recent trade agreements with the Zaran Confederacy and the Yulin system. Jackson's instincts sharpened. This wasn't just about fear. It was strategy. Earth had become a threat, not militarily, but politically. Its influence was growing. That made it dangerous to leaders like Threx. In the dim light of his private command room, Jackson leaned over a terminal and began drafting a direct message to the Galactic Council. To the Council, he typed, "You have executed an innocent man without trial. You did so using false evidence. I am aware of your actions, and I will not stand down." He paused, then added, "Earth does not seek war, but we will not be your scapegoat." He sent the message on a secure line. Later that night a reply came, not from the full council, but from Threx himself. It was brief. "You have no proof. Do not threaten what you cannot defeat." Jackson stared at the message. There was no fear in Threx's words, only arrogance, confidence, and something more: certainty. Threx believed Earth would hesitate, that Jackson would back down. He was wrong. Jackson stood, his decision clear. Prepare a stealth probe. I want it inside the Council's central archives. We find the truth, then we decide. Across the stars, silent engines began to hum, and Earth's most dangerous weapons waited in the dark. The blackness of space stretched endlessly, silent and cold. Near the far reaches of the Varelius system, an Earth-designed stealth probe drifted like a ghost. It was small, no larger than a transport pod, and nearly invisible. Wrapped in a dark energy cloak, it emitted no signals, no heat, no sound. It was a shadow. Its mission was clear: breach the Galactic Council's central archives and extract internal records. Commander Jackson Morrow watched the live data feed from Earth Defense Command. Line by line, the probe decrypted layers of Council encryption as it tunneled through firewalls. Behind Jackson, Dr. Lian Kaur stood with folded arms, her eyes fixed on the screen. "We're in," she said softly. The first documents appeared. Most were routine: meeting notes, trade updates, fleet reports. But Jackson wasn't interested in those. He wanted the private files, the ones buried deep in the system, the ones not meant for human eyes. Then it happened. A single file opened, marked classified, Threx Directive 51. It was a voice recording, dated weeks before Marcus Hale's arrival. Threx's voice was unmistakable. Human expansion has become unpredictable. Their influence spreads too fast. If left unchecked, they will divide the Council. We must act now. The Envoy is the key. Stage the breach. Make it public. Use it to isolate Earth. Silence fell in the command center. Jackson leaned forward, fists clenched. He planned it, every step. More files followed, memos to other Council members, urging caution about Earth. Warnings that humans were too emotional, too independent, a threat to unity. Threx had built a case slowly, convincing other species to doubt humanity. One file caught Jackson's eye. It was labeled Oleron's Strategic Plan, Phase 2. It outlined preparations for controlling Earth's trade, limiting its AI programs, and isolating its ambassadors. Execution of the Envoy was listed as a trigger point. "This isn't diplomacy," Jackson muttered. "It's sabotage." He looked at Lian. "Send these files to President Keane and the Earth Alliance. Mark them urgent." Lian hesitated. "What about the Council? Shouldn't we confront them with this?" Jackson shook his head. "Not yet. We don't know who's with Threx and who's not." Later that evening, in his private quarters, Jackson opened a secure communication line. He entered a contact code from Earth's encrypted database, an unofficial link to a Council delegate who had once helped Earth during its admission hearings. A holographic figure appeared. She was tall and lean, her skin shimmering with shifting colors. Her name was Marori Vel, a delegate from the planet Chiron. "You shouldn't contact me like this," she said at once. "Threx monitors all external signals." "I'm not afraid of him," Jackson replied. "I have proof he framed our Envoy. I know what he's planning." Marori didn't speak for a moment. Then quietly she said, "I believe you." That surprised Jackson. "He's been twisting the Council from the inside." Marori continued. "He uses fear, promises protection from Earth. Most are afraid to speak out. They think humans will replace them." "I'm not here to conquer," Jackson said. "I'm here to stop a war." Marori's voice lowered. "Then listen carefully. You're not alone. A few of us have been watching Threx for years. We've seen what he's done to smaller systems. We never thought he'd go this far." "Help me," Jackson said. "Stand with us." "I can't, not openly," she replied. "But I'll tell you this. He plans to call a Council summit in 3 days. He'll push for Earth suspension, possibly even sanctions. If that passes, it will give him legal grounds to mobilize fleets." Jackson's heart sank. A war disguised as a vote. Marori nodded. "If you want to stop him, you need to show the Council who he really is." The signal faded. Jackson sat in silence, the room lit only by the low blue glow of his command console. Outside the window, Earth's sky was calm. Stars blinked faintly above. He opened a fresh file. It was a message addressed to Threx. He began to type. From Commander Jackson Morrow to High Chancellor Threx. Subject: your lies. You executed a man to provoke a war. You buried the truth under fake trials and false images. But I have the truth now, and I will not let you bury it again. Earth will not fall to fear. If war is what you want, you'll find it. But it won't come from weakness. It will come from justice. He hit send. Then he turned back to the command table. Bring the fleet to full readiness, he ordered. Keep them cloaked, but I want every ship manned and armed. If Threx thinks Earth will bow, he's wrong. As Earth's command structure came alive, deep within Council space, Threx received the message. He read it once, then twice. His face remained calm, but his eyes narrowed. Activate Summit Protocol, he told his aides, and notify the fleet. If Earth resists, we will crush them. The game had changed. The shadows within the Council had begun to shift, and now the galaxy held its breath. 3 days later, the Galactic Council gathered on Varelius. The summit chamber was brighter than before. A wide circular room with a transparent dome gave a full view of the stars beyond. Delegates from over 50 civilizations sat in their elevated seats, each wearing the colors and symbols of their homeworlds. The air was tense, quiet, and still. At the center stood High Chancellor Threx. Clad in deep silver robes, he projected calm power. His voice echoed through the chamber. Today we must vote on a matter of grave importance. Threx began. Earth has violated Council laws. Their envoy was caught committing espionage and lawfully executed. Yet Earth has responded with threats, not remorse. He paused for effect, letting the silence stretch. We must act before Earth grows more dangerous. I propose full suspension of Earth's Council membership and control over their orbital activities. Murmurs rippled through the room. Some delegates nodded, others glanced at each other, uneasy. Then, without warning, the air above the center platform shimmered. A holographic image formed, Commander Jackson Morrow standing tall in his Earth defense uniform. I object, Jackson said, his voice firm. A wave of surprise swept the chamber. This council has not heard the truth. Chancellor Threx accuses Earth of crimes based on forged evidence. I have obtained files from your own archives. You were never after justice. You were after control. Jackson raised a hand, and the hologram changed. It showed the decrypted message from Threx's private records, his voice stating the plan to frame Marcus Hale and isolate Earth. Gasps filled the chamber. A few delegates stood. Others looked at Threx, shocked and silent. This is manipulation, Jackson continued. This is fear, not law. Threx didn't flinch. That message was stolen. It could have been altered. Earth's leader speaks of peace while preparing for war. Another hologram appeared behind Jackson, showing Earth's fleet, hundreds of ships in full battle formation, powered and armed, but still hidden from sensors. They had remained cloaked in deep orbit. This fleet is ready, Jackson said. But it hasn't moved, not one shot fired. If Earth wanted war, it would already be here. The chamber fell into heavy silence. Then, for the first time, a delegate spoke. It was Mari Vell of Chiron. This recording is real, she said. I have heard Threx speak these same words. I remained silent, afraid. No more. Others stood, one by one. Voices from Zerenan, Alalari, and even a former ally of Threx, all confirming suspicion, doubt and unease about Threx's actions. Threx's calm finally cracked. You would believe a human over the Chancellor of the Council. Earth is dangerous. It spreads chaos. It will divide us. Or it will show us another way, Mari replied. A way without fear. The summit was no longer a formality. It was a turning point. Suddenly, Threx turned away and activated a small communicator hidden in his robes. Deploy the fleet, he whispered. Within moments, alarms began to ring. Earth's long-range scanners detected movement. Council warships, already stationed near Varelius, were moving into battle formation. In Earth Defense Command, Jackson received the alert. They're breaking protocol, an officer shouted. Launching without a vote. Jackson didn't hesitate. Cloaks off, all Earth fleets into defense positions. Hold fire unless attacked. The stars around Earth lit up as the planet's warships decloaked. Sleek black vessels lined up like arrows drawn in a bow, each with enough firepower to destroy a city. The Annihilation protocol was armed but still locked. The next move would decide everything. Back at the council chamber, Threx stood firm. You see, Earth is armed. This is the enemy. This is the danger. But Jackson answered clearly through the hologram. We are armed, yes, because we had no choice. But look closely. No missiles launched. No ships moved until yours did. Jackson took a breath. This is not a war. Earth started. But it's one we're ready to finish, if forced. The delegates looked around. No one spoke. Then slowly, a light above Mari Vel's seat turned green. Her vote cast. Earth should not be punished for defending itself, she said. One by one, more lights turned green. A vote against Threx. A vote for truth. Then came the final light. Gold. The vote was sealed. Earth would not be suspended. The motion failed. The chamber exploded in reaction. Some cheered. Others argued. But Threx stood frozen. His plan had failed. Outside, the council ships stopped their approach. Confused, leaderless, they returned to holding position. Inside Earth Defense Command, Jackson exhaled deeply. He looked to his officers. Stand down weapons. Keep ships in place. Let them know we're watching. Across space, tension still filled the air. But for now, there was no war. Jackson turned off the comms and walked to his private office. The council had seen the truth. But Threx would not go quietly. And the galaxy had only taken its first step toward change. The stars outside Earth Defense Command glowed softly, calm and undisturbed. But inside the command center, tension still lingered. Earth's fleet remained in defensive formation, orbiting silently. Every officer waited for the next move, from the Council, from Threx, or from Commander Jackson Morrow. Jackson stood before the central display, arms behind his back. He studied the Council's ship positions, which had not changed since the failed vote. No new orders, no attack, just silence. They're waiting for something, General Orin said from behind him. Jackson nodded slowly. So are we. He hadn't slept much, not since the summit. The Council had rejected Threx's motion to suspend Earth. The truth had been shown, but the danger wasn't gone. Threx still held power, and his fleet still floated in the dark, fully armed. Then a signal came through, unauthorized, encrypted, and sent from inside the Council's own command network. Jackson raised an eyebrow. Who has this access? Dr. Leon Kaur ran a scan. Not official, but Council-grade encryption. Could be a defector. Jackson stepped forward, put it through. A voice crackled to life, calm, focused. This is Commander Val Sirin of the Koran Guard. We are not loyal to Threx. We know what he has done. We are ready to act. But we need Earth's help. Jackson leaned in. What kind of help? We need time, a distraction. If your fleet holds their attention, we will move inside Varelius and remove Threx before he triggers full mobilization. But it must be now. He's preparing emergency powers. Jackson took a moment. He trusted very few people, but Val's voice held no fear, no desperation, just resolve. You have your distraction, Jackson said. Make it count. He turned to his officers. Order the fleet to move, not toward the Council, just enough to rattle their nerves. Defensive pattern only. Within minutes, Earth's ships shifted position. A slow, wide sweep. Lights blinked. Shadows moved. It looked like preparation for war, but no weapons fired. Across the galaxy, news broadcasts flared with activity. Earth forces on the move. Headlines read, Council in crisis, another said. Everyone was watching. On Varelius, within the heart of the Council station, Commander Val Sirin led his unit of Koran operatives through restricted corridors. They moved quickly and quietly, disabling security nodes, bypassing patrols. Their destination, Threx's private command deck. Threx had locked himself inside with loyal guards, preparing a transmission to rally outer systems. He believed Earth's fleet was about to attack. His message would blame them and activate Council emergency powers, giving him full control over military forces. but the door to his chamber exploded inward before he could finish. Val stepped through the smoke, weapon raised. "It's over," he said. "You've lost." Threx turned, fury in his eyes. "You traitor. You think the humans will spare you. They don't need to," Val said. "They didn't lift a finger. You did this to yourself." Threx reached for a command console, but Val's shot was faster. The console sparked and died. The Chancellor's guards surrendered. It was done. The news spread quickly. Threx had been arrested. Within hours, the Council named an emergency ethics panel. Manuri Vel and 2 other neutral delegates were chosen to lead it. Threx's authority was stripped, his plans exposed, his supporters scattered. In Earth Defense Command, Jackson received confirmation of the arrest. He stared at the message for a long time before speaking. "Order the fleet back to low orbit," he said quietly, "and deactivate the Annihilation protocol." "Yes, Commander," an officer replied. The holographic red warning Annihilation protocol armed disappeared from the command screen. Across Earth, people began to breathe again. Jackson walked out of the war room and into the open air of the surface platform. The stars still shone overhead, peaceful, silent. Leon joined him a moment later. "You didn't fire a single shot," she said. "I didn't have to," Jackson replied. Truth was enough this time, but it almost wasn't. Jackson nodded. Yes, almost. He knew it had been close, far too close. Earth had come to the edge of destruction, prepared to unleash power that no civilization should ever need. But they hadn't. That mattered. It meant there was still a path forward. Behind them, Earth's fleet slowly returned to its regular orbits. Engines dimmed, weapons powered down, and far away the galaxy watched and remembered. A week had passed since High Chancellor Threx was arrested. The Galactic Council, once locked in fear and manipulation, had begun to breathe again. The silence that followed his fall wasn't just relief. It was reflection. A system meant to ensure peace had nearly started a war. One leader's hunger for control had brought the galaxy to the edge. Now everything had changed. Inside the Council's great chamber on Virelius, the tone was different. There were no raised voices, no angry votes, no secret threats behind diplomatic words. Delegates from across the stars sat in quiet agreement as a resolution passed. Earth was to be reinstated, protected, and recognized as a core member of the Galactic Council. Commander Jackson Morrow was not present in the chamber. He had turned down the invitation. He didn't need applause. He didn't want a spotlight. He was home, back on Earth in a quiet green district far from the war rooms. Jackson stood in front of a simple home. The sky above him was calm, dotted with clouds. Birds chirped nearby. The air was clean and warm. It felt far from the chaos of space. He knocked on the door. It opened slowly, revealing a woman in her 50s. She had kind eyes but tired ones. Behind her stood a young man barely 20, trying to stand tall. Jackson gave a small nod. "I'm Commander Jackson Morrow," he said gently. "I served with Marcus Hale. He was a good man." The woman didn't speak for a moment. Then she stepped aside, letting him in. Inside, the house was simple. Pictures lined the walls. Marcus as a boy, a student, a proud envoy in his Earth uniform. Jackson looked at them, then turned to Marcus's mother. "He never got to defend himself. He never got justice." She nodded. But the truth came out. "Yes," Jackson said. "And because of him we saw who the real enemy was." They sat. Jackson didn't come with grand speeches. He came with quiet respect. They talked for a while about Marcus, about Earth, about the future. Before he left, Jackson handed the young man a small metal pin, Marcus's official council badge. "He earned this, and Earth will never forget it." Outside, as Jackson stepped back into his shuttle, he looked up at the sky again. Peace always looked so simple from the ground, but he knew how fragile it was. Back at Earth Defense Command, new orders had already gone out. The Annihilation protocol had been sealed again, its systems buried deeper, its access restricted even from military leaders. Earth had agreed with the Council. Such weapons were never to be used unless every other option had failed. Jackson had personally signed the agreement. The Council, now led by a neutral triad, began reviewing laws that had allowed Threx so much power. Reforms were coming, transparency was rising, and Earth, once seen as a threat, was now respected, not for its weapons but for its restraint. Still, Jackson knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was watching Earth. Some feared it, some admired it, but no one would underestimate it again. In his office, Jackson sat alone. He reviewed new trade agreements, alliance messages, and fleet updates. But his eyes kept drifting to a small photo beside his screen. Marcus Hale, smiling in his uniform, a reminder of the cost. A knock came at the door. Leon Kor stepped in. Marguerite Vell sent this, she said, placing a message tablet on his desk. Jackson read it silently. Earth has shown strength in peace. Let that be the model, not the exception. There are others still watching in the dark, but today they are silent. That is because of you. Jackson closed the message. We're not heroes, he said quietly. No, Leon replied, but we made it. They sat in silence for a moment, knowing how close it had come. One order, one launch, one wrong choice, and the galaxy would have burned. But they had chosen differently. Outside, Earth spun beneath the stars, peaceful, unbroken.